What's up, everyone? Back with the second half review of Joe Alt against Maxx Crosby and the Raiders. As we saw in the first half, a lot of great stuff. I mean, protection pretty much flawless. Technique-wise, a lot of things to love as well. So let's see how he performed in the second half. First play, see him on the right side there. 3-point stance. A little not traditional for today's NFL, but that's okay. So we can see they're sliding to the right. And so there's a late developing blitz. Number one's coming down, Crosby's going in. But because the slide is to the right, Alt is taking the widest. And so he's getting out of his stance. And you can see he's maybe a little uncomfortable there, kind of gets into that weird positioning that we talked about in the first video. But he gets to a spot, he's throwing his hands, he's sitting down, the ball is gone, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see again, now, like I said, 3-point stance, not quite as traditional, so getting out on a speedy guy is not going to be as comfortable. But to me, still looks like not quite as smooth as we've seen from him in college, and that will come with time as he transitions to the right side. But all things considered, he gets his hands on the defender, as clean of a win as you're going to see. Next play, he's got 94 in that kind of 4 technique again, head up on him. And this one's an empty protection. You see the running back out, no one in the backfield. And Chargers, as we saw in the first video, tend to, slide both sides, two-man sorts as we would call it. And so Alt is setting really on 49, who's outside of him. Now, we saw in the first video this really good tempering down of the pass sets, not needing to fly out there. There is some buffer, some space created by the tight end next to him. And also just understanding that, you don't have to fly out on that guy. You can help protect the inside, whether 94 works out, as we saw in the first video, and it allows the right guard to get back to the center, or in this case, just providing space and buffer and turning inside to wad up the pocket. So another good example of awareness of where you are, where your defender is, what else is going on in the defense. Next clip, motion to empty. This one's against Crosby. Again, it's getting repetitive, it's getting boring, but it looks great. Pass set, getting out of his stance. We can see again, similar pass set to what he's been doing. He gets to a spot a little cleaner this time. In the very first rep of this video, you saw him kind of flip his hips, look a little awkward. This time, he's utilizing the snap count. He's getting to a spot. He's providing presence with that left arm on 94 in case they're running any sort of twist or game, or in case Crosby were to be dropping. So he's at the right spot, providing space, still throwing the hands, contact point, bull rush on power. You could argue that his left hand's a little bit outside of Crosby. You can see Crosby's got his right arm inside for sure. But he fights and gets his head back out of it. He's dropping his hips. Looks like he gets tripped up a little here. It's hard for me to say what would have happened if the feet don't get tangled. But I will say the end result is he's fighting for leverage and he's running his feet at the top of the pocket. And so we want to look at where the ball is, 1 yard away from the line. You look at where Herbert's dropping. He's at 9 yards. That shove right there from Alt gets Crosby to 10, 11 yards when he gets back to the hash that the ball was on. So again, you're looking at protecting for 10 to 11 yards deep in the pocket, an ability to sit on some power, the anchor right there. Feet get tangled, doesn't matter, still able to run the top of the pocket. And that's what I like to see. At the top of the pocket, I don't like guys that are just kind of turning and pushing their guy further up the arc to where he could still come back around if the quarterback's able to stay in the pocket. I like what Alt does, running his feet and extending Crosby further up the field towards that opposite end zone. It's another fantastic rep against a premier pass rusher in the NFL. All right, next rep at the 6-yard line here. And now this one is interesting. This one is an empty protection. You can see the running back is leaving. The center's going to the left, which means the right guard and right tackle have the two most dangerous of the 3 guys that are coming. So this gets into a different discussion, but essentially Joe Alt would be considered to be in a sift here. And now a sift is 41 at the line of scrimmage and 98 Maxx Crosby outside of him, he has to block the most dangerous because there's no running back to block 41 if he's blitzing. So 41 can get to the quarterback quicker than 98 can because he's in a tighter gap. And so in a perfect world, you would love the right guard and the right tackle to be kind of sorting 2 for 3. But because it's a single sift in this case, Alt is taking the most dangerous of 41 and 98. And so he's taking a step back, although he steps under himself because he's realizing, oh man, I got to break this off on 41. He is able to flatten off 41. Now the right guard, being a good football player, sees his guy dropping, tries to get back on 41. But as the offensive tackle, unless you're kind of committed to working together to potentially get back out to the widest, there's just no chance that you can break off that sift like Alt is doing, and then feel your guard, and then get back to Crosby. So based on my understanding of how sift rules work and just looking at this play, again, the Chargers could be doing it differently. I'm not exactly sure. But based on how it's shaking out here, Alt is doing the complete right thing. He's breaking off his pass set. He's blocking the more dangerous rusher, squaring him off. Everything to like there. It's a good one. Next play, let's let it run full speed. All right, coming back to it. So again, another 3-point stance. Pass setting on 97. And we've seen this a lot from him now. He's taking those nice tempered pass sets. He's helping on the 4 technique, the 3 technique. He's dragging. 94 works out. Great position. Allows the right guard to work back inside. Alt is using his hands. Shoving 94 even further away. Pretty simple. Great rep. Next play. Kind of a more traditional pass set now. Looks like with a little bit of help. So he's blocking 97. The tight end is going to provide a little bit of presence, a little bit of chip help. Doesn't really do much. You could argue almost propels him into Alt, but Alt knows that. So again, even though 97 is maybe a smidge wider, doesn't need to fly out of there, and he's not. And this is one where as a tackle, you're right now a little confused. There's 2 guys rushing towards you. There's the defensive end and the defensive tackle, but Alt is aware enough to just focus on his guy. 97 gets into him. You can see the hands, see the leverage, locking it out, sitting it down, even extending the width of the pocket right there. Again, a lot of clinic tape from a rookie in his first career start. Next play, going to let this thing run. I mean, it doesn't look much easier in the NFL than this. Now, to be fair, similar to some previous reps, he's pass setting a guy outside him off the screen. You can see his eyes outside because the Raiders are in this odd alignment and it's a 2-man sort on his side. And so he's setting, guy's not coming, 95 is working out towards him, hands on, latches, leverage. Now 95 probably not the body type that's going to threaten Joe Alt, but just in terms of making the simple look simple, to use some coach speak there, this is it. I mean, just making it look simple, making it look easy, and that's what you love to see from a guy in his first start. All right, sorry about that. Next one, again another odd alignment, another set the defensive end, feel 95 coming. Now this one gets compressed just a smidge. I mean, we see 95 is a big boy there, differently than maybe on the last one. So 95 is going with a little bit. I don't even know if he's trying to fake a hand move, just go straight inside. And this is where we've seen Alt, that left hand especially, can kind of get outside and then lifts. And so when you got a big hefty defensive tackle who's pressing on your chest, you are at risk of giving up a little bit more pressure than getting your hands directly on the guy. And yeah, I mean, Herbert's getting to the opposite side of the hash and then stepping and throwing into him. You could say that the guy is touching Herbert there, maybe altering the throwing arm, which you definitely never want to see as a tackle or a lineman. But despite that, again, good leverage, able to work for power against a really thick, strong guy. So a lot that you like to see. You just like to see it happen there. You want this play to be over right there. So Herbert is able to fully step into the throw. He's not going to get his arm hit or anything. It takes Alt one extra hop to get fully leveraged, and Herbert's arm does get stressed a little bit on the throw. And now whether he's throwing it away or whether he just has to release it really high because he's getting hit, not exactly sure. But, that's the first thing that we've seen in terms of a pressure or quarterback hit from Alt all day. Next clip, another rep against Crosby. And similar to the ones that we saw in the first video, looks like he's slightly late. I mean, he's moving at essentially the same time Crosby is. He's a little bit behind his right guard. And so he's taking that set where it gets a little uncomfortable to my eye. He's starting to turn a little bit early. And I would say he's slightly underset here. You can see Crosby kind of has a bit of an edge that he could be taking, and I think is going to try to take. Alt is a little bit too turned to the line at the contact point for my liking. This is one, I don't know if Alt is just kind of tempering his set because 94 is so tight like we've seen him do in the past. But I'd like to see him just get maybe half a kick deeper on this one so he's in a better position. He throws the hands. We can see Crosby work on the double swipe to get the edge. And now, again, the ability to kind of run the hips, run the feet, run Crosby up the top of the pocket. Ball's about 1.5 yards over the yard line. Herbert does not get very deep. He's at 8.5 yards here. And Alt is pushing Crosby at the top still and gets him, again, to about that 10-yard mark. So a lot of good stuff. No, not a holding. Alt is running his feet. He's not necessarily impeding where Crosby's going. If you run it in full speed, I'll do it a couple times here. There's just nothing on this play that says holding from the ref's perspective. Next play under center. We've got a traditional kind of shorter drop back. Again, just kind of these odd fronts. Alt setting. Nice and tempered. Blocking Crosby. Now you can see, again, the footwork gets a little kind of out of sorts to my eye. But throwing the hand, Crosby's going with a chop. Alt does get chopped down. You can see the upper half leaning there and kind of doinks Crosby in the chest with his head. And then immediately, boom, leverage. 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 And so this is the encouraging thing. You're seeing him throw the hands. I mean, he's not going to be able to really punch up on guys. He's 6'8" or however tall he is. He's going to be punching down on a lot of people in his career. But his ability to not fall out of the window when he's getting hand moves and then work to leverage as quick as he does bodes really well for him. Next play, man. Gets out of his stance. Again, I don't know if it's just he's not quite as comfortable at tackle. I think he's not as comfortable on setting deep and setting to the top of the pocket. So he's kind of getting that funky look where he's, flipping the hips a bit open. Hands are getting a little out of whack as he's trying to gain some depth. Now Crosby's kind of seeing the running back, probably feeling a chip coming, so he's converting to power. And I would say Alt's not in a great position right here. I mean, his hips are kind of out of whack with the shoulders. Crosby's getting into him. The hands are outside. Now, in terms of the body angle, it is a pretty good position, but he eats it, and it's pretty much stopped. I mean, the running back is barely getting anything on Crosby. Alt is doing this himself. He's just completely eating a Maxx Crosby bull rush and hopping for leverage, and the play's over. Hands inside, leverage established, and even better, Crosby's trying to disengage now and work a second and third move, and Alt starts running his feet and widening the pocket. So again, another stellar rep. Next play, finally a more traditional 4-down look, working against 97. More good pass protection. Taking a pass set. 97's going for the chop. Doesn't quite get it. Alt's got that great length. Gets to the near point, punches, extends it, runs his feet at the top of the pocket. Pretty simple and easy stuff, as I say easy kind of in quotes there. Pass protection against anybody is not easy, but Alt is making it look that way already in the first game. Next play, guy drops out. Nothing to really look at here. Just again, very end of the game as we're going here, he can feel his guy's not rushing, so he's not really going anywhere. And you can see the eyes aren't even really looking at his defensive end. So this is just a clip in here to show his awareness and understanding that he probably doesn't even have to pass at his guy, which he doesn't. takes the right guard's guy. Right guard is almost able to get back to the defensive tackle that the center whiffs on. But, I mean, he does get a shot on the side of Wilkins there and propels him into his other guy, kind of wads up the pocket in a funky way, and that's because Alt is able to switch that off so quickly and has that awareness. All right, last one. I believe it's a touchdown pass at the end. Just locking it up. Gets out of a stance. Now Crosby's kind of feeling a little bit of 15 there. You know, he's so used to being chipped. He's feeling that. That's how offenses can build in a little bit of help for tackles, even when you don't have to chip them directly. And Alt's taking that good set, not going too far, especially here in the red zone where you're going to get more power, you're going to get more inside rushes, and throwing the hands. Butt goes back a little bit, but on contact, he's already back to leverage. Working. He's got the hands locked up on Crosby's shoulder pads. He's lifting. Crosby's trying to get a little bit of a chop there, or a rip there. That's not going to work when you're locked up like that. So yeah, I mean, so much impressive stuff. You know, we've seen really one play that you could argue, Alt's defender was able to get to Herbert and hit his arm as he was throwing the ball. But in terms of a really clean game and pass protection, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy who's aware. We're seeing a guy who is taking sets to get him in the right spots. He's using his hands. He's working towards leverage. He's able to extend the pocket. Once he's got his guy locked up, he's able to extend the pocket at the top with his feet, which I love to see. Again, like I said in the first video, I think there's a little bit of uncomfortability in the pass set, especially when he's having to set a little bit deeper and going against pure speed up the field. But that's the transition from left tackle to right tackle. That's something he's going to work on. He's going to get better at. He's going to keep improving as the comfortability grows. But a stellar first start. Chargers fans have got to be excited that they've got him, they've got Slater, and they got all the makings of bookend tackles for the next decade plus for Herbert.